Hey everybody, it's Pandy and I'm playing World of Tanks. This video is going to be dedicated to Laz. Laz is the clan leader of Relic Main within the World of Tanks division of Relic Gaming. And since I'm doing a British tank, I figured I'd go ahead and give my man Laz a shout out since he is a British man of British origin, of Britishanese. Yeah. That'll work. Yeah, shout out to my man, Laz. Now, the Churchill came in many different flavors over the course of the years and, so many different upgrades and improvements during the course of the Second World War. So I'm going to run through the development and design and not really going to get into the variants on this video unless I want this video to be really long. Development of the Churchill began before the Second World War. It was intended to replace the Matilda and the Valentine infantry tanks. And since British doctrine was for infantry-supported tanks, it was expected that the future wars that the British Empire was going to be fighting was another round of trench warfare like it was seen during World War I. Now, any tank designs during this period would need to simply smash through like infantry obstacles like barbed wire and attack fixed infantry positions. The development designs were changed after this, after the fall of France to the Germans in 1940. Now, based on the experience from the Polish, French, and British forces in the face of the German Blitz, new specs were envisioned in June of 1940. Now, due to the threat of German invasion in late 1940s and early 1941, the Churchill was rushed into production without any prior trials or testing. In doing so, showed many faults in regards to mechanical faults, I guess you could say, mostly related to its engine, which was underpowered and unreliable. It was also found that the 2-pounder that they happened to equip on the original design was too weak to counter a lot of the newer German armored fighting vehicles of the time. The development of a new turret to mount the 6-pounder was rushed into service. Now, in between the 2 and 6-pounders, there was a variant that was thrown out there that had a 3-inch howitzer in the hull to allow it to shoot high-arcing, high-explosive shells, which was produced without testing or trials. Now, this variant was simply discontinued after poor performance during the Dieppe raids in August of 1942. Now, problems related to its new turret housing with the 6-pounder came later after all the plates that were welded together showed faults in protection. So an alternative cast turret was produced to bypass these faults for ease of manufacturing and also for better protection. Now, the poor performance of Churchill nearly caused it to be wiped out from production in favor of the Cromwell tank, but due to the successful usage of it in Egypt, kept it in production and kept it in the war into the very end of it. Now, after this, the usage of the Churchill became widespread during Operation Overlord, and the standardization of tank rounds was put into effect before the operation. The 75mm main gun was mounted on the Churchill for basically to allow the American brethren of the colonists to be able to share ammunition with the Churchill. This gave the Churchill a little better tank killing potential compared to the 6-pounder, but less high explosive effect because the 6-pounder just carried more charge. There's many other upgrades beyond what I talked about, and there's so much that, related to basically its engines and tracks and everything else related to being a tank. The progression of the Churchill tank basically sees a lot of up-armoring, up-gunning, and up-powering each new variant that comes out. Now, the Churchill did see combat in North Africa, Italy, and Western Europe, but also some limited combat action with the Australian Army in the Pacific theater. Now, the British Army also deployed a few of them, modified Churchills during the Korean War, which were known to be the Crocodile, flamethrower variant of variants, and also the Irish Army ended up using quite a few of them to the late 1960s. I almost forgot to mention that the Churchill was also given to the Soviet Union to be used along with the 5th Guards Army during the Battle of Kursk. Or was it the 5th Guards Army or was the 5th Guards Armor Brigade? I don't know. It was used by the Soviet Union via the Lease-Lean Treaty stuff. Now, within World of Tanks, the Churchill is like that favorite uncle that you happen to have that drinks too much, smokes too much, slaps the waitress's ass when she walks by after she takes your order, simply embarrasses everyone around him to no end, but you can't help but love him. Now, the Churchill that we happen to see in World of Tanks is the Mark III version with the 6-pounder main gun. The 6-pounder on the Churchill is basically a machine gun at best, firing around every 2 seconds on an average damage to high teens or low hundreds. It's a rather weak gun all to itself, but with 100% crew, rammer, and ventilation, it's a rather capable gun. It does pretty well against a bunch of tier 5 tanks, and when you go facing off against tier 6s and 7s, you run into some difficulty, but you can wipe them out with a whole bunch of gold rounds for this gold tank. Now, Now, it does tear into targets with rapid fire, which allows you to out DPS a lot of targets and nothing flat, but its low alpha just simply puts it at a disadvantage when you're sniping because it's not really that accurate. The penetration at long ranges, as you guys already know, also degrades at range, but don't be afraid. The gun shoots so fast, you just put a whole bunch out there and it's liable to hit something. Now, the Churchill does come with the best frontal armor of any tier 5 tank out there. Combined with a liner, the Churchill is damn near impossible to destroy from the front unless you're a bigger tank like, you know, IS. But its long side armor makes it the biggest weakness that it happens to be on that tank, and angling your tank to face off against enemy tanks, it's not really a great idea, but it does work from time to time. Now, you can slam dunk this tank into enemy lines without really risking yourself too much by just pushing you straight through the enemy line as long as you're the biggest tank on the field of battle. Your biggest worry should only be the 107 that comes with the KV, but it's a rare thing to see nowadays with so many different types of tanks out there. Now, granted, you're not as effective within battles that have tier 7 and 6s in it, but you should be able to smash your way into enemy lines as long as you don't get outflanked. And you know, that high velocity, or not really high velocity, but the gun itself, the machine gun, is able to piss off a lot of tier 7s quite easily with gold rounds. Its only real weakness that I've happened to find on the front is actually the driver's hatch, a little area where the machine gun for the radio man pokes out. People are able to penetrate that area fairly easily, but at long range you'll simply bounce off where your tracks will eat the rounds without doing any damage to yourself. The mobility on this tank is something to be wished for, especially given that other tanks are a lot more mobile. I myself have driven a lot slower tanks, aka the T95, but I'm quite content with the speed and its semi-turning rate, I guess you could say. I mean, the turning rate isn't all that great and it is worrisome, but it's nothing that can't be overcome by proactive planning for your future actions. The heavy tank will be a heavy tank, and poor mobility just happens to be something that you have to live with and overcome and just get the shit done. Overall, the Churchill is a fun tank. Its frontal armor gives you a class of your own and allows for a lot of enemy tanks that are not capable of getting through that frontal armor a real frustration and spear into their side. Play this tank for about a month now, and I happen to use it quite a bit during open beta. It's a great and badass tank in the hands of someone that plays it correctly. Of course, the Churchill is not 100% great without the 100% crew, liner, rammer, and ventilation. Now, I've been debating on getting the gun lane drive for this tank so I can at least snipe at long range with rapid fire in some capacity, but I need to save up my credits so I can at least spec out my M40, M43 currently, but you know, it's something to be thought of. All in all, gold rounds make this tank very capable against tier 7 tanks, and you know, with that, it might appear to be overpowered by some because of the gold rounds. Speaking of waltz, I'm at the end of the video where I get to give away some World of Tanks gold. As always, the gold I won't be giving away is 3,000 gold from the North American server and 2,500 to the European Union server. To win said gold, you must be A, be subscribed to my channel, and B, post a comment down below, maybe about the video question, which is, what is the best tier 5 tank within World of Tanks? I think I've asked this question in the past, but fuck it, let's just ask it again, and my answer, of course, is the SU-85. SU-85 with the 107mm main gun. It's just great gun, mobility, and not really perfect armor, but you don't really need armor when you're bitch slapping tanks with 2 shots, you know? I mean, you're able to pwn a KVs, KV3s. That 107 just makes and breaks that tank. It has a little spot in my dark little heart that says, I love you. So that's all I got. The video was a little rushed because, you know, St. Patty's Day. You know, I had to get my drink on and then woke up with a hangover and went, oh, yeah, I have a video to make, don't I? So I have the video done. It's about the Churchill. I wish I could get into all the variants, but there's just way too much information about the different variants. You know, if I really got into it, it would have been a 50-minute video easy. So, you know, I didn't want to do that because I was hungover. I still kind of am, but I'm good to go. All right, you guys take it easy. I am Pandy. Good hunting.